told, I did tell all of our online people that this is what we were doing tonight. So I've given them a little pre-warning to bring their chairs to class. So it really doesn't matter what kind of chair that you use. So you could use a dining chair, or you could use, you do need something that, like, as opposed to, well, you don't have to, but as opposed to, say, a stool, because sometimes you get to use the back of the chair, like the backrest, so it's sort of nice. It's also helpful to keep you really quite upright as well, I find. So welcome in everyone who's jumping online. I can see a few little names calling by. Excellent. Alrighty. So here we go. Yeah, chair yoga. I've pulled my blocks in so that I can assess if my knees are the same height as my hips. You could do anything. You could put a little bolster, you could put a towel even. It just helps keep that whole sort of, I guess, synergy of alignment here of knees in line with hips, and puts less load or less drag or less strain onto the back here. You could even, because we're going to do a little moment or two into pranayama, if you had a blanket, you know, I'm a little bit cold here, you could even just put your blanket over. Some people might even want some weight, like if you had something like a bolster, you could even put your bolster here so that your arms feel like that they're nice and comfy. Particularly if you feel you're like, oh, are they dragging, or how could I sit here feeling almost like it's a restorative pose. It's no different than being in shavasana in a sense, because you're being fully propped. So find some other little options that might be out there if you want to get really comfy. So you could even put anything on your waist that you might think stops those shoulders from wanting to drag down as well. So we're going to start sitting in our chairs. We'll get to move on the chairs a little as well, and it'll be a really super easy kind of class for us today. So as we prepare, just let the chin drop towards the chest. Keep that length in the back of your neck. Just find that natural rhythm that comes to the breath when you draw the breath in and out through the nose. You might even feel from here that if you've already started some of that breath work already, you could perhaps draw out and lengthen the breath. So can you feel the lungs from the very bottom, from the very lower lobes of the lungs, all the way up to the top. And what we might notice here is there's this expansion that comes to the chest. A little rise sometimes in the collarbones even, so therefore the shoulders subtly lift with a full inhalation. And then obviously that lowering of shoulders, the drawing into the belly and chest on the exhale. And full breath coming in, and full breath going out. See how smooth you can make each breath here. How even the breath can be from start to finish. So becoming quite mindful of not rushing the breath, or not pulling the breath in or pushing the breath out. both your inhalation and your exhalation are exactly the same length here. With that in mind, I'm just going to keep the breath back, perhaps move the fingers and toes, or just get some movement back into the extremities. Opening the eyes gradually and slowly as well. And if you've got any props with you here, like me, bolsters or blankies, you probably don't need either of them at this point in time. And I'm going to take, if you had blocks underneath your feet, we'll take them off. We don't necessarily need the blocks at this next stage. What we're going to work through here is, let's just pretend we're going to do cat-cow. So I want you to imagine that you're on your hands and your knees. And when we do cat, we round the back, and when we do cow, we extend the spine. I'm going to even suggest that we sit more towards the front edge of the chair as opposed to our backs wedged into it. Probably I'll put my little chair up here so you can see me too. Think cat is exhale, so it's always chin to chest and the back rounding. And then the opposite on the inhale, letting the chest lift and the back extend. So coordinate breath and movement. Exhale, round the back, drop chin to chest, rounded spine. Go the other way on the inhale. Chin draws up, back goes into that little collar, that extension. Good. Cat, exhale. Good. Cow pose, inhale. More cat, round back. Draw the belly in around the spine. Send it all the other way on the inhale. Slowly extending, chin draws up. And then just like a neutral spine or just a flat back. Think for me now that your pelvis can draw some little circles. So you can hold on to your chin, and don't know what you do with your hands, but it's like you're going to draw, sometimes I call it like stirring the pot. So it's almost like you've got a big spoon and you're letting the pelvis sort of round forward, out to the sides, out to the back. It's to create some movement in that pelvic rim. And then when we get towards the back of that chair, change directions and let that circle and go the other way. I've got the creaky chair. Why? Alright, when you get back, just return to a square back. Keep the legs together for me. Lower the chest down onto the thigh and let the arms, so my chin's near my thighs and my legs are together. This is a fairly simple fold, just to start us off, but it might for some create a bit of a lengthening sensation or a gentle stretch into the lower back. If your hands didn't meet the floor, you could always bring your blocks into and get your hands down. Yeah, rest up onto your blocks. But forward fold, opening up the start of the back. Come on up when you're ready on the inhale. And then leave the legs in the same spot, but take the left hand onto the right knee. And the right hand can just go on the edge of the chair here. Use the legs to press into the hands. I'm going to use my right knee to press into that left hand, and then I get to go into a little bit of a twist. It's not too strong at this stage. It's just like a little gentle rotation. But what I do know is that my knees are in line with my hips, so I haven't sort of swung those knees haven't moved out of alignment here. And then breathing, come back, and then just take that twist around to the other side, right hand onto the left knee. Press the left knee into that right hand. Unraveling out, widening the feet now. So before we said, bring those feet together. Now I'm going to say, let the legs go a little bit wider so that when we come forward this time, the chest can fold through the legs. And my hands here are between my two legs. My head's heavy and my gaze is pretty much just straight through the legs of the chair here. It's a little bit more of a deeper fold, you can see, because we're no longer restricted by the thighs. And it allows us to flex the spine a little bit more. Same unravel on the way back up on the inhale, so chin to chest, and just unravel the spine until we slowly curl back up here. We'll cross the legs on this next one, so if we go right leg crossing over the left leg, same twist, it'll go to this right hand side here. This time I'm going to put my elbow a little deeper and dig it a little bit deeper, or even hand into this right leg and pull. I guess a little bit more, a little bit more sort of gusto, a bit more gumption on this one. It's a deeper twist than our first one. Breathe in very slowly and twist. Switch those legs over, left goes over right. And do the same again here, pressing the arm into the leg a little bit more. Using this back left hand, pull us further around onto that left hand side now. A little bit stronger into that rotation. Use your next breath in to slowly unravel, and we'll once again take our legs back to being wide. When we drop through the front this time, I want us to take some stretch into the back of the neck. The hands are going to sort of cup over the base of the skull. When we come down, we're going to do that little sort of pull where we draw the base of the skull towards the crown of the head, and we really assist that opening up now of the back of the neck more. Release the hold of the head, just bring the hands onto the floor. Now we're looking obviously straight through the legs of the chair. Can you bring your hands to grab hold of the legs of the chair? It depends on how far forward you come. Some people might be able to get to that back, the back legs of the chair. But the idea here is by holding onto the legs of the chair, you get to pull yourself further under, again deepening that flexion in the spine here. So now by holding onto the legs, we pull in and we tuck through a little deeper. Gently release. Think of that same little ragdoll effect as you curl back up, keeping the chin towards the chest. All the way back up from here. Good. Let's go ankle at knee. We'll go left. Won't know which one we use. We could sit with this one and literally just let our hand weight the leg down towards the floor. So we could start off with that gentle hip opener. I'd be inclined to sort of look at alignment here as well. So my right ankle is sort of stacked directly underneath my right knee. You sometimes find that being in the chair keeps us a little more honest. We're less likely to want to twist the pelvis because we can really sort of see, is my pelvis quite square with the front edge of the mat? And then if I come forward and still keep that weight going down, it becomes a little deeper, a little stronger in the hip. Release that foot to the floor and call a knee stacked. We'll start off with that little simple, easier version first with the hand, just weighting the knee down. And then once we feel maybe there's a bit more softness into that hip. And definitely feel if you want to explore it a little deeper, then we can come through the front here again, back into that forward fold. Trunk just lifts up and back and away. Go and return. These feet nice and wide again. This is a little bit like Malasana, that little squatty kind of movement that we do if we were sort of squatted down towards the floor. We often sort of do it with a bit of a twist. So what we do is we get to fold the trunk forward again, and I leave my left arm sort of wedged against my left leg so that my right arm can then just unfold and open up towards the ceiling. You can look at it if you want to, but you don't have to. You can look down at that left hand if it's softer or nicer on the neck. And use your breath out to find the floor with your right hand, right arm, right leg wedge into each other. Inhale, let the twist unfold to the other side. Again, with the option of either looking at the hand or still looking down towards. Again, exhale, left hand will go back down to the floor on the inside of the left leg. Inhale, right arm will open up. And on this second one, maybe the right arm can come around, and if it can get anywhere near holding onto the chair, the backrest of the chair. But if we can't get to maybe that point, does it wrap around behind our waist, coming more towards the left thigh? Our intention here is to also not only twist the thoracic, the spine, but to also start to open up into the pecs here on this right side as well as right shoulder and the right arm. And then breathe out. The right hand gets to go down to the floor. We'll inhale and open the left arm back up towards the ceiling. And then it does that sort of wind around to either grab the chair or the back of the body back around near the waist. That right arm still wedges itself into the right leg, and we continue to bring ourselves into that twist here. The breath out to let go of the chair. Hands will come back down to the floor. The breath in gets to unravel us very, very slowly back up to stack. Spine replaces itself back on top of each other. Before we get to walk these legs in, we're going to take ourselves into some more neck switches. So we did the little chin to chest one. Let's see if we can find this side, this lateral neck one. If we go left ear, tipping down towards the left shoulder, use your right hand to find the leg of your chair. Okay. Wherever it feels comfortable, it depends on the kind of legs of your chair that you've got, but you probably want to be more towards the back leg. We're lucky ours are on a bit of a cross, but if you want to say a dining chair, you probably be wanting to grab that back leg here. It gives us something to pull down onto, but then also something to pull away from. We're trying to lean a little more out to this left-hand side to get some opening or some stretch into this right side of the neck through here. As we stay here, can we lift the chin towards the roof a little bit more as we keep that sort of really firm hold on the leg of the chair. And we've got that same grip on the leg of the chair, but very slowly we're turning or rotating the head to look down to the outside of the left hip. So take it slow. The head goes into this sort of lateral kind of a rotation. Turn the head back to earlobe and shoulder, so where we sort of start this from. Have less hold on the leg of the chair. Let it go. And then take your time as you gradually bring the head back. Bringing the chin back down so that when you're ready, you can rotate the head to look down towards the outside of the right hip. Earlobe and shoulder, less hold on the chair, letting fully go when you're ready. Bring the head in your own time back to sit equally between the two shoulders. Ready, both arms go up. Think eagle arms for me, right wraps around the left. Give it that little duck, wriggle these arms up, same height as the shoulders. And just as we would for eagle arms, if we're in standing eagle pose, let those shoulder blades really widen and broaden and stretch across the from one shoulder to the other. Try the legs. You can keep the arms in the same position. The right leg over left. Can you get that second little hook? It might be easier here. And what can happen is that they want to just all fully sort of flop out to the right hand side. So think as you would if you're in standing eagle, you want to try and make sure the hips don't twist. The hips are still really square to the front of the mat. These two legs are pushing, or I should say, pulling and pushing against each other. And here, as the arms pull and push against each other. Go left arm over right, eagle arms, up they go. Could find that width across the shoulder blades. And then we get left leg, see if we can do that little extra hook, a little loop around. Square hips up, pulling the legs, pulling the arms against each other. Belly and unravel the legs. Now we're going to do some warrior poses using the chair, and it's sort of easy if you use the, like the corner of the chair, if that makes sense. So this is going to be how my warrior looks. See how I'm not sitting on my seat of my chair. I'm sitting on like the little, makes sense, the little corner of the chair. You can, move your chair accordingly to how you feel. So if you think, what would I look like if I was asked to go into warrior one? So warrior one would have the front knee being bent, knee over ankle, and then the back leg would be straight. And I'm going to say let's go into the lunge version of warrior one. So it's how straight can I get that back leg? I want to try and pull that back kneecap up towards the. Is it too hard to get down to your seat, Sue?
No.
You got blocks? Do you have any blocks?
No.
Okay. Because I'm thinking if you, for example, if you couldn't sit on your seat, something like this might help. Okay, so see how I just threw a little block underneath my bum? Does that help? Or if you've got, say, your towel a couple of times, does that bridge the gap so that there's more, there's less space between your bottom and the seat of the chair? So you stay with that for me. Here's another option. For example, I could use the whole of the chair, so I could do this. How does that work, Sue? See how I'm now? Can you see how my... So here's another option. I know you have to turn it to look like mine, don't you? Sometimes, like, let me get the way you are, and then I'll get it.
That's not quite right.
Sue, face, bring your right knee, just face me. Turn your body to face me. Right, so my chair looks like... Let your chair face me. Let your seat of your chair face me. Aha, yep. So then, imagine that you're just going to step over it. Yep. Aha. Yes? Yeah. Hey. So that's another way, like if you can't sit on the edge of the chair, you could find this as the whole, your whole, my whole left thigh is literally sitting on the seat of the chair. Yeah? So that's an option. Or you can do the little, you can work a little. You can do it on this ledge here. Okay. So it sort of keeps us a bit honest, this, because we've got to try and keep that back leg up. I've got to try and keep my hips really square with that front part of the mat. If you want to add warrior arms, then you could go arms up, you could go hands to heart, you could have palms together, what works best for you in this position. So just like warrior one, you want to press the left foot into the floor, you want to drive that back right heel all the way back towards the back end of your mat, or as far away from you as you can. And this is going to stretch out this hip flexor, this right hip flexor for us. This is warrior one. Here's warrior two. So what would warrior two look like? Yeah, arms parallel to the floor. Just keep checking out what's going on in this back right knee, that the knee hasn't collapsed, that the long leg is still nice and straight, that I've got my left ankle and my left knee set over each other, and I'm looking down that front left arm. So warrior number one, warrior number two. Dancing warrior. Where would that backhand go? So we want to watch that we don't press down the back of the kneecap, but we sort of reach or we slide the hand down towards, say, that back calf, and the left arm gets to lift and lengthen upwards towards the ceiling. And then release the arms. And then just wriggle this back leg in a little bit. Now, we're going to see if we can come into a quad stretch from here, which basically just means dropping that back knee down onto the floor. You have a couple of options. So therefore, you could use the seat as like something to hold on to. Okay, so you could do this, or you could do it similar. See how I've got my foot could go up there like this. So imagine what we'd look like if I said to you, go to this stretch up the wall. You know how we sometimes wriggle ourselves in really close to the wall. So we've got a heel pulling towards the bottom. If your chair was a little bit hard, mine's a little rough on my foot. I'm going to put my blankie up there. Does that help breathe? Yeah, mine's a bit rough.
Maybe my foot's just a
Nah, it was hurting mine a little bit. But if you think, when I ask you, go to that really strong quad stretch up the wall, and we run this shin bone up the wall, and then we wriggle our backs in really close, And then I get us to use those long arms. This is the same kind of pose, both of them working through. And let's say, oh, it's a little bit niggly on my knee underneath this. Go put some padding like you would if you were doing it, up the wall. Good. Then when you're ready, you can release the arms around and down. Remove this leg, and we're going to do warrior 1, 2, and dancing on the other side. Oh, this is going to test us. As long as you remember which leg you had in front before. Yeah. So knee over ankle. Back heel extending back. Trunk up quite tall here. Add those arms. Wriggling that back leg as far behind us as we can without it twisting the pelvis. Keep rotating the hips to point around towards the front. Lunge, warrior 1. Pivot and plant that back foot. Finding your way into warrior 2, looking down that front arm. Reach out through the fingers and drop down through the shoulders. Keep that back leg from collapsing, so keep it super straight. Tip back when you're ready. Slide the hand down the back leg, reach the top arm towards the ceiling. You should start to feel a bit of a stretch running through the belly, the side abdominals. To wriggle the legs in. Let's find that quad stretch on the other leg. You know, with these thigh stretches, that the more upright we are, the more we pull ourselves away from that knee that's on the floor, the stronger that the stretch is. Let the chest rest down onto the thighs so that you can near that chair, you can easily slide that foot back off. And we're going to take, if you had anything on that, you don't necessarily need it. Draw the chair back around. And we're going to come into an easy chair pose from here. So when we stand, it's almost like we're going to sit on the chair, but we're not going to quite sit on the chair. We're going to have that little bum hover, waist, the chest is the butts are sitting down towards the ears, the hands are pressing together. It's almost like my bottom is going to sit on the chair but doesn't quite. And we'll twist the left elbow towards the right leg. Come back to center, breathe in. Good, breathe out, twist to the other side, hooking the elbow over the knee. Breathe in, come back to the center, do the twist, but this time the split that goes with that, where my arm and that leg are really having to work into each other. Hands come back to prayer, hook over the other side, but then do it again, split those arms, draw them apart. Hands back to prayer, all the way back to center, keep that low squat, higher arms on this next round. Good inhale, drive through the legs, pull all the way up, bring the arms back around. Now we're going to face our chair, a nice easy hamstring stretch from here. If you can't get to the seat, that you might have your blocks that you could use your hands on. That's another option. So like any of our hamstring stretches that we would do, be it in Hanuman or even things like our triangle pose, we want to make sure that our hips or our pelvis is square with this front edge here of our chair. You might pull your toes back to find the stretch into your calf as well, and our chest just falls heavy, so it's coming to rest towards the thigh. Breathing in, bend into the knee, and you're coming into like crescent for me here. My shin is really close, or it's literally touching the front seat, the front, the backrest of the chair here. Keep wriggling that back left leg out behind, so press back through the heel, then you can hold onto the chair, like with your hands, or onto your blocks. If we think, what does crescent, when we talk about crescent on the moon, it gets stronger as we go into that little mini back extension. So almost like we go into camel, we try and extend back here. So I've got a hold in my seat, and I'm just arching away like a camel pose or a cobbler pose. And then just bring the trunk back to square. Come out of it just a little, and we're thinking side angle pose where your right arm, because we've got this right leg, the right arm runs on the inside of the right leg, so my right palm's onto the seat of the chair, pressing the arm and the leg into each other. My left arm unravels towards the ceiling. If you want to feel a little bit more, obviously you could wriggle this back left leg behind you more, and you want to really drive the right knee over the right ankle. And if you're familiar with binding, then this left arm might wrap around the back and the right arm can sneak through those legs, doing exactly what we would if we were just literally having feet on the floor. So you want to tuck that right arm under the leg, come find the fingertips. Yep, that's it. Good, good, good. Now you're thinking that you're on the mat and you're just doing the normal little vinyasana. Bring your hands either side of this right foot, and can you slip it back to meet the left and think plank for me here. My shoulders are over my wrists. I'm in this long plank-like position. So you're just finding a plank. Armpits are pulling away from the seat of the chair. The belly's pulling up and in. And you can keep this plank as is. You could walk it in a little closer if it was too strong. But think side plank. Can you get your right hand to go into the center of your seat, spin it around, and then just open your left arm up towards the ceiling. Keep pulling that underside waist away from the mat. And then breathe out, bring your hands back as they would for normal plank. And maybe just a little push-up, yeah, like a little tricep push-up. It won't be too far because your seat is in the way, like the bench or the backrest of your seat's in the way. So a little tricep push-up and straight back up. A little tricep push-up and straight back up. Good, one more tricep push-up and straight back up. Lift up, imagine you're going into down dog. Feet can probably go flat here. And the trunk, the head falls between the two arms now. Sit bones pull up to the roof. Good. And we feel the working to the hamstrings. Maybe even an opening into the shoulders as well. bend the knees a little so that we can walk slowly our way in to the chair. This is just so that we don't overload the back. And then take a little roll up very, very slowly once again from here. This just protects our back so we don't overstrain the back. We've got this hamstring stretch on the other leg. It should be your left, up on the seat of your chair now. And draw that left hip back. Keeping the under trunk, shoulders and the hips square with the front edge of our mat. Pulling the toes back. So that we feel that little bit of effort going into the calf. Then bend the knee, we found that crescent at the moon. At the front of the shin bone pressing to the backrest of the chair. Drive the back right leg away from you. There's this little wriggle of those feet. Think of the back of the knee. I'm pressing towards this, and so I want gravity to press in on it. And then we find ourselves going into the extended version, like we're going to do cobra. And then slowly ease the trunk back out. Just use your hands onto the seat to square up that front knee over the ankle. Side ankle close brings and you can plant that back right foot flat. Left arm presses into the left leg, the right arm unfolds up. Keep pressing arm and leg into each other. And perhaps there's that bind that runs with it. Right arm wraps around the back. Drop the left shoulder through so that we can sneak those arms through and collect the fingers. Bring the hands to come either side of the foot. We took plank from here. Find yourself in a full plank, shoulders over wrist, bellies up and in. Again, you can do any modified version here. So obviously this one, the closer I would be to the seat edge, the easier it would be. The further away I am from it, the more they look like this really long lineal plank, the harder it is on our core. And our side plank would come from the left hand, coming into the centre of the mat, spinning around, opening upwards towards it, so pulling that left wrist fully away from the floor, stacking the legs, using the waist. And breathing out, bring ourselves back over onto the chair, into our plank. Some little tricep push-ups here. Keeping those arms really close to the side ribs. One more. And then down dog comes on that breath out. We bend the knees and soften a little, walk the feet in. I want us to go then slowly down onto the knees though. So when you're ready, keep your hands onto the chair. Legs will come together. The tips of our elbows are on the seat of the chair. And like we would stretch our triceps, maybe the elbows come more towards the front edge. Often we sit in childs and do this, we flip the hands over the back of the head. So we've got these arms, sort of the lower edge of the arm onto the seat, and the hands are right over, pointing down towards our spine, towards our tail. Releasing the arms slowly out there in front as we walk the knees in. Then move into a pec stretch. You'll come and bring yourself parallel to the side edge of your mat. So my forearm can rest onto the seat. I'll bring my chair here a little bit more. Alright. Elbow in line with shoulder. Chest drops down. I'm going to stretch out the pecs here. This is like when we do this on the wall, you know our one that we do on the floor. But now we're just letting gravity weight us down here. You could turn away from this, but the moment you might be looking at the floor, your gaze might be looking at the floor, but we're turning our head and our chest away from the forearm. And then square the trunk back up. Lift up slowly from here. What we will do is swing this. The easiest thing is just get the chair, swing it around the outside. Doing exactly the same again here. Forearm on. Chest falling down, heavy towards the floor. Opening up through the chest. It's almost like a nice little preliminary start to the pec stretch. And then we can turn away from it. It's like I'm trying to turn my chest away from the floor and open it around towards the right. Square the trunk back up. Very slowly lift the trunk from here. We're going to leave the chair where it is. Here it is. I'm pulling more towards the end part of the mat. We're moving slowly towards relax. So we're not quite there, but so that you don't have to fuss around towards the end. If you say, for example, for relax, have a blanket that you use or eye pillow, or you even might think, you know what, I'm going to prepare to put my socks on. We've got maybe about 3 or 4 minutes worth of work, but after that, we're going to go straight into Shavasana using this. So rather than feeling like you might want to fuss around, it could be easy to get this going first. I would have my little blankie here next to me. And if you had a bolster, you could use that too. What will happen initially is that your heels, because I want you to think pelvic curling here. My heels are on the top edge of the seat. It's a little similar to when we do bridging or pelvic curling with our feet on the blocks. I say that as a pre-warning that the hamstrings, even though we've given them a fairly decent stretch, might have a bit of a loud conversation with you. To exhale, tilt back, peel the spine away from the floor, curl all the way up. And then breathe in. And then breathe out, ease down. So you'll take a couple of these. wanted to convert any of them into bridge, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you could still keep moving with your pelvic curling. Do come out of your bridge or your pelvic curl, you can just do those little windscreen wiper knees here, even where we do that little floaty number side to side. And then the last one we do, which is going to lead us into our relax, is what we call instant Maui, where we thread these legs through, we stack the knees over the hips. This could be where then if you had a blanket, you could put the little blanket like all the way over your legs and onto your, say, your shins to get you warm. You could put, if you had, say, something like a bolster, just because it's nice to have some weight, could be the bolster rests over your belly, like like I did on our thighs in the first seated position of class. Could be time to put the eye pillows on. But this pose here is sort of sits under the banner of our restorative practice, where it is not too dissimilar from legs up the wall. It's an abridged version of legs up the wall, where the format of it encourages the blood to float down into the pelvic organs, helps to relax and to soften the digestive system. So it's quite calming on the nervous system for us as well. Just notice it as we settle in, the breath becomes slow and steady again. There's that calming and soothing effect on the body immediately as that breath slows down. The body continues to soften, perhaps even noticing how the back of the body just sort of sinks and melts towards the mat. just a matter of moving the fingers and the toes. And whenever you're ready to take time to roll over, to find a restful spot on the side, we will settle in there for a moment. And then as we use the hands to press our way up into sitting, we'll come and meet with the hands, the heart. It's here that we get to finish class all together with Namaste. Namaste. Chair yoga. Done. That wasn't hard. Went quickly, I thought. I don't know about you, but I went really quick. Good stuff that you can do at home too, so it's not hard stuff to do. Awesome. Take care, everyone.